Entrepreneur's Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, so the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneur's Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur's Enigma podcast. I am your host, as always, Seth. Today, I have a good buddy of mine, Matthew Saline. He is an experienced advisor, consultant, operator, and coach specializing in small to mid-sized businesses for more than 25 years. Yes, 25 years. He looks good for his age. He has successfully owned and guided companies from concept to funding to launch to profitability and sustainment. Woo! He has his own business, and he also has his own franchise cohort of the alternative board, and he's Philly West. He'll talk to the Philly East if it's interesting enough, but generally he sticks to the west of Philadelphia. He is based in the west of Philadelphia, so it makes sense that his business is over on that side of the world. His consulting company, Big Door Open, advises B2B and B2C companies on positioning, commercialization, and monetization efforts, and of course marketing. And he's just a good guy. Very friendly, very outgoing, always gives a good handshake, a good hug at these events I see him. Hey, Matt, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well today. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's so much fun. I like having my buddies on here. It's good.
Well,
So,
thank you.
have you always been an entrepreneur?
Well, I came from an entrepreneurial family, and my parents are still with us. Yeah. My mother, although she's a very successful journalist and book author, she was affiliated with Philadelphia Magazine for many, many years, but built her own brand and did many things outside of that. She was on TV, radio, stuff like that.
Oh,
And
big feet to step into.
Yes. And my father, he was a very successful car dealer in South Jersey. So kitchen table was a lot of, from my father, learned a lot about business. My dad didn't go to college, and he has sent both his children to graduate school. And so I learned a tremendous amount from my father, who just instinct, experience he's gained, things like that. And my mother, talking about the different things she did and how she branded herself and that. So the funny thing is my career did not start as an entrepreneur. I started as a lawyer.
Oh,
yeah, it was back in the early 90s when the real estate crunch hit and everything else. It was like, I'm not sure what I want to do. And it was like, oh, go to law school. So
you can always use it for something. Yeah.
You can. I
practiced like a history degree.
Well, actually, I was a history major and an art history minor. So there you go.
Exactly. What the hell are you going to do with it? Go to law school or teach? Exactly.
Now
write ChatGPT prompts.
So I practiced for a couple of years, and it was not for me. I was doing environmental and corporate transactional work, and I was much more interested in the companies I was meeting and interacting with in the practice of law itself. So I went out, and one of the companies, an investment advisor, asked me to come with him, and he would train me in how to do investment banking and VC work. And I lasted about 6 months in that before it was clear that was not my calling.
You tried it.
I did. And so I'd always been someone who was very interested in brands and other things. So I had a mentor of mine who has since passed, but he said, I think you're ready to do something where you're kind of the one in charge. And so I came then with an idea that I had come up with, that my wife at the time, my first wife, I'm still on my second marriage, it's going great, that she was a vegetarian, and my mother was into homeopathy. My sister went to Brown and was living in Berkeley. So that whole kind of feeling of things, I was in a local health food store, and they were smaller then. Whole Foods wasn't in our area yet. And I was talking to the owner, I was like in between jobs in a sense. And so she was talking about different things, and I had this idea about how to educate this audience and then incentivize them, because teaching them about things without giving them like money off or promotion or something was not going to stimulate them. So
Yeah.
long story short is I found someone who became a partner, a minority partner who had background in marketing. She had worked with Campbell's and Nabisco,
Ooh,
and we
good
found that
pedigree.
I went out and raised some money, and we then built our own database. We went out. We were the first ones to do this. Started with direct mail, then went to in store, and it kind of progressed as things went on. So we were one of the early companies to do experiential marketing, wrapping
Oh, wow.
bands, going to concerts, stuff like that. And then we got into email. We were one of the first people that get email databases going because
Yeah.
up until about maybe 2012, brands really didn't have a way to build their own audiences, and then
Yeah.
social media changed that. So we had
Mhm.
the audience, and then so we did research because we had the database. So we were helping people with product development, labels, things like that. And my clients were Whole Foods, Sprouts Farmers Market, Annie's Homegrown, Cliff
Oh, wow.
Bar,
Big
Honest
dogs.
Tea. Well, they became the big dogs, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
they
'cause Whole
got
Foods was small at one point, yeah.
well, and so basically, Whole Foods sells to Amazon, I think in 2016. And at
Yeah.
that point, a lot of these smaller brands had been absorbed by bigger companies. So that means I was then talking to brand managers who were 30, and I'd been doing this for a while. And then, or we were being sent to their agency
Yeah.
to work with the agency. And I just wasn't into it. So I I got out of that in 2018 and said it was time to take a break. So
Yeah.
took what was going on then, and then got into really people. I'm a marketer, but I'm really much more of a business person because I have a real. I still have. I don't do a lot with it, but I had a real estate development company I started back then, so there was some things going on there.
Yeah.
And so basically got into strategy, mission, purpose types of consulting because I was used to working with those types of companies and had experience in it.
Mhm.
And then from there, got into coaching. And then the alternative board came along. And as you mentioned earlier, it's a franchise. And Philadelphia West just means that although I have some things in Philadelphia, I go out on the main line to the suburbs out here and then out to Newtown Square and Media.
Ooh, that's far.
And
Far
well,
from me. I guess it's all relative.
it is, and so it's a nice bolt on to what I was already doing, and
Mhm.
it expanded my capabilities as well because there's now a suite of proprietary strategic tools built for the audience that I like
Mhm.
to work with, which is small to mid-sized business owners. Sweet spot of
Yeah.
like 1 million to 15 million.
Yeah.
And
That's
what
fun.
the alternative board does as well is, in addition to coaching, it's a membership organization and it's global. And what we do also is a big piece of it is we're bringing small to mid-sized business owners who are non-competing together in a small group setting,
I
kind of
like
like a
that.
board of directors, alternative board to play on that. These
Kaboom,
companies
boom,
don't
tsh.
have
Yeah.
boards of directors, and so we're bringing them the same strategic advantage. We keep them small, 6 to 8,
Yeah.
and then together, we're working on the challenges, opportunities, and issues we're all facing in our individual businesses.
So it's like a mastermind
And
almost.
it's a mastermind group, and then it's supported with the one on one coaching, the suite of tools, and the global network. So
Awesome. Yeah.
together, it's a package. And the time commitment is 4 hours a month for the board meeting. And the reason we keep the group small is because everyone gets a chance to talk about their stuff. It's a structured meeting. I'm a trained facilitator as well, so that allows the meeting not to be a free for all of like you and
Yeah.
me and four other owners getting together and
Can you
shooting.
imagine? Jeez.
Yeah, no, we would never get anything done. And
Kibitzing all the
so
time, yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that's it. It's great. And I took over an existing franchise in this area and moved it a little bit out to where I am because the area where it was is not as it's not as thriving as it used to be. It was more the
Yeah.
Northeast, and so we moved it over to this area. And yeah, and I have I think we're up to like 24 members now,
Okay,
and
now, yeah.
I have a facilitator who works under me who has his own group and coaches as well, and that's it.
We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show. That's fantastic. So in your mind, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Because you did the law, You did the invest well, kind of did investment banking. You had tasted investment banking for a little while. Then you've done the branding, the marketing, all that stuff. So what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Great question. I think a lot of people will say the autonomy,
Yeah.
yet that's also one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Uh, so I would say the thing I like the most about it is the rewards you get from being an entrepreneur are directly related to how much hard work you put in and the way you choose to operate your business. Whereas when you
Mhm.
are working for somebody, how hard you work and the choices you think are the right choices are not often listened to, and you're not rewarded
Yeah.
uh, in the way that you would when you're an entrepreneur. You've heard it before, but you do eat what you kill, no matter what industry you're in.
Mhm.
And the my mentor said something very interesting when about being an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Everyone eats first, but the big dog eats last.
Yeah.
And that's, I think. And so another thing I think about being an entrepreneur is that's hard is often in companies like that are sales driven companies, you're not the highest paid person in your company if you're running a good company. Your
No.
salesperson is.
Yeah.
And but you're building equity, you're getting things they don't get. And I think so. I will say that probably one of the hardest things I've had to learn being an entrepreneur is how to check my ego, because all
Oh, it's so hard.
entrepreneurs
It's so
have
hard
big
to do.
egos. Yeah, it is. And
You already
I mean, I
answered the
check it.
second question. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it's checked at home every minute by my
Well,
wife
yeah,
and
that
daughter or
happens.
my
The
son. Yeah,
boss checks it out like,
yeah,
"Ah, no, 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 in
exactly.
here.
Yeah, exactly. You're not at work.
You're not working. You don't get to have an ego here." So no,
Yeah,
I get
pretty
that
much.
too. Yeah. So other than like, I mean, so what keeps you up at night? I mean, besides worrying about your daughter and all that stuff.
What keeps me up at night is the fact that I'm responsible for a lot of things. I'm responsible for my own earning and then to keep my
Mhm.
family uh, in the lifestyle that we want to have and have some of the flexibility to do certain things. The other thing that keeps me up is I wouldn't say responsible, but I have a relationship with all my members, and I
Mm.
am there to help them. And so, if they're not doing well or they're struggling, I am thinking about that. And then a lot of the normal business things: how to market,
Always.
how to prospect, and then how to keep up with business as we're getting bigger. I'm going to have to bring on another facilitator at some point,
Well, that's
and so
exciting
it is, yet at the
and
same time, you're
terrifying.
going, yeah, and then you have to go through it's an investment, training, and more management. I mean, one of the reasons I was happy to get out of what the marketing area in my company was I was tired of managing people.
Mhm.
And the other thing I want to say about being an entrepreneur, so I hear this a lot as well. I don't have to answer to
Yeah.
anybody, and that is, I think, a misconception as well. You
Yeah.
always have somebody to answer to. If you have
Always.
clients, you're answering to them. If you have, like here, I'm a franchise owner, so I'm not getting put on the carpet, but at the same time, I do have to answer to
Yeah,
the
they want to see
franchise
you
at
doing.
times.
They want to see you doing things and using it, and
Yeah, and TAB is the alternative board, the acronym TAB. It's a great organization, and the strength is much like in companies. It's the people I work with, the other owners that I have engagements with, and we have our own peer boards internally and mentors and
ooh,
things like that. But
yeah.
that's really what makes it such a wonderful organization from the top down.
So you found a good franchise to work with, which is it's hard to do. There's franchises
It,
that are really tough.
well, I think for what we do, I wouldn't call the alternative board tough. I would call them
No, but there's others that are
supportive.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are like McDonald's or Subways. You're making those burgers the same way, and there's this and there's that, and no, that is not this
Yeah.
franchise at all.
You lucked out, that's good. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Other people don't work. Other people don't work on your timeline.
Oh, it's so true. Oh, God, I wish they would. I really wish they
Yeah,
would.
sure. I mean, and I've done sales for 25 years because when I built my company, I was doing all the business development, and then we got bigger. But still, when you get bigger and it's a small business to an extent, You're the face. People want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And even now, as I'm looking for members and having relationships, they work on their timeline, and it's, you know, the reason. And another owner within Tab, I respect a lot, said to me, "Remember this: you're in an essence an employee of the people who are your members, because
Mhm.
as much as they love you and want to talk to you and want to include you in things, they're
Mhm.
paying you. So there's a mindset that's different, and never forget your place in the pecking order."
Oh, it's so true. It's so good. So people can find more about you. I mean, you're on LinkedIn. So I mean, like
Mhm.
that's like your social media thing of choice, I assume. Yeah,
It is,
where you hang out.
and we're expanding the brand. We have some events coming up that we're doing,
Mhm.
and we'll be having video and interviews. And so we're going to start augmenting the website more and more. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'd say LinkedIn is my big one.
It's a big one. And also go to Tab Philly West and Big Door Open. Well, no, tabphillywest.com. That helps. Give them the
Yes.
suffix. It helps.
Mhm.
And then also bigdooropen.com is your other venture, which is cool. Matt,
Mhm.
this has been so much fun.
Mhm. Well, it's great. And I want to be able to buy you a free drink at our next
Sounds good. Well, exactly. Our free events. Very funny. All right. Thanks,
All right.
buddy.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.